I saw something really weird at a match today. Heard a single gunshot somewhere around the plantation on DeSalle. Crouched walking around the log piles at Ash Creek listening for anything else. Hear someone die super close. Figure it had to have been someone else crouched walking around with a bow or someone with a silenced rifle who might run over to check the body. Listen a bit longer. No more audio for a full minute. Give up and head over to the supply point near the river. Dead guy right in the middle of it, on top of the tiny campfire, surrounded by 4 alert trip mines. Go ranked 0 build with random. Dude goes full Leroy Jenkins as soon as we land. Kid murders 6 people before I caught up with him. He says something in some foreign language. Emote him with a bear hug and we keep going. Kid goes head on every enemy he spots, murdering everything in his way. 5 people left, just 1 full duo, us. Hear a man talking on his mic. Then Kid says something in DC's. I still won the match. Don't know who you were or where you are, kiddo, but that was a really fucking good game. This reminds me of something I read from the Bush War. Roadies recover enemy rifles after each engagement. They keep finding rifles with the rear sight dialed in to the highest setting, practically fucking indirect fire. They are extremely confused by this. Eventually, they ask a prisoner about it during interrogation. Literally, none of them know what the sights are for. They think choosing the bigger number makes the gun shoot harder. Warfare in Africa is truly unbelievable. Do landscaping. Contracted to do work for a publishing company. They print collector guides, including for guns. Owner is a massive military vehicle collector. Pulling these scrubs out from one of the owner warehouses. Scrubs have massive 4-foot diameter bulbs for roots. We uncover all 8 of them in front of the warehouse. Impossible to pull out, even with a Ford F-250. Friend of the owner who hired us calls Chet the owner. Old man shows up in a 66 Stingray Corvette, a cigar, and Ray-Bans. He has a great idea. He opens his warehouse and I see Jeeps everywhere. I shit you not, he had every model of every military Jeep ever made. A 6x6 Jeep, a minesweeper Jeep, to an ambulance Jeep, an amphibious Jeep, you name it. From 1939 to 1979. Then, sitting in the side in its own little garage is an M4 Sherman tank. Tank's name is Battle Bitch. Chet hops up and fires it up. He backs the Sherman up to the scrubs and we hook a chain around it. He pops them out with ease. Repeat 8 times. Chet takes the tank into town. Lol, what? Needs to top off the tank before parking it again. Won't the cops have an objection? Chet lowers his glasses like pick related. Because 1, I'm the richest man in town. 2, I've done this before. And 3, I'm in a tank. What are the county boys with their BB guns gonna do? Chet lights new cigar and drives off with the guy who hired us as his driver, and Chet in the turret like he's fucking Patton. Man is dead and gone now, but goddamn was he an absolute fucking legend. Rip Chet Cruz, you magnificent son of a bitch. Delivering pizzas. Drive 15 miles over the limit at all times. Traction control. Always off. Fat gay pissin' Murano with student driver magnets is doing 5 under in front of me. 1 lane turns into a 2 lane. Pissin' stays in the left lane. Pass it on the right. 20-year-old V8 screaming through leaky exhaust. Fat, red-faced boomer driving instructor leans out of the passenger window. Screams, "You can't do that!" Flip him the bird and tell him to go fuck himself. Teenage girl learning to drive's face when B-brain chilling in some dude's head. He fell asleep. Wait, check this out. Hey yo, we're falling, bro. Jumpscare.exe. Lamau, go back to sleep, dumbass. First day in film school. Teacher asks our favorite films. All generic answers like The Godfather, 2001, and Citizen Kane. My turn. Say Leon the Professional. Everybody gasps and the teacher gives me a weird look. Hear, based, from the Indian guy behind me. I got one. Be freshman in college. First time smoking weed. Already trashed on whiskey. Twist hard. Wander down to a frat house. Post up outside and pretend to be security. Brothers let me and eventually leave. Asking people for IDs about an hour. Whole time drinking hard liquor. 2 cops come up the stairs and ask to come in. Ask them for IDs. We are the fucking cops. We are going to come in. I say, riddle me this, then proceed to puke on one of them. They stagger back in shock. Oh fuck. Run my drunk ass back to my dorm, shave my head and beard. See cops every day patrolling the campus. Never recognize me. I regret nothing. 10 years old. Got prescribed with a disability. Said disability is where a part of my body that regulates body temperature is non-functional. Parents and I don't get what was going on, so I was taken to the doctor again, after the trillionth time to get diagnosed. Finally got to a doctor who knew his shit. Doctor asked if I liked Godzilla. Really liked Godzilla. Child brain wanted to override and began a small conversation. Doctor asked if I had ever seen Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Yes. Doctor told me I can fucking melt down like a nuclear reactor by explaining burning Godzilla. Immediately realized my problem. I'll die if I overheat. All I gotta do is stay cold, basically.
Be me. Be trying out Greatsword. Miss 9 attacks out of 10. Get like 1 hit in monster's face as it charges towards me. 1,500 damage. Part broke. Monster's on the fucking ground having a huge fucking orgasm, convulsing all over the fucking place. Dopamine rush is so huge it is gonna last me for days. 20 plus minute solo hunts all day, every day. I understand now.
Hazard 5 egg hunt in a full team. We end up getting a swarm on our asses, and keep in mind the cave is tightly packed so there's not a lot of room to run around. Everyone starts going down one by one. Host is the first one to go. Keep in mind because this is important later. Eventually, I'm the last one standing. Was able to hold myself well until I goofed up and detonated myself with C4. I had the damage-based trigger equipped at the time and happened to be a little too close to it. Not even the other members popping an iron will was enough to save us. As the final dwarf goes down, Host types noobs in chat, even though he was the first to get downed. When we spawn back in the rig, I type, "If we're noobs, then why did you not carry us, Wazok?" A few seconds later, I'm kicked from the lobby. My face when...
Land to air. Literally 2 seconds passes. Murders a random stranger for no reason and gets caught. Cheats on spouse with 87-year-old ugly bitch with lover's pox and gets caught. Becomes an alcoholic, becomes improvident, becomes a flagellant. Have 17 kids and give them all stupid guardians. Declares war against a foe with several allies, thousands of gold for mercenaries, and several holy orders. Maimed in battle, charging 317 levies into a death stack repeatedly for no reason. Forms a rivalry with every powerful vassal in the realm. Borrows gold from holy order. Develop scout. Every time without fail.
Kidnap foreign princess. Force her to convert and recruit to escape the dungeons. Promote her to court jester. Marry her because Lamau, why not, her dad's a Carling. Demolish clown pussy every night, pumping out backup airs while she continues to perform as a slutty pregnant clown. Suddenly, Carling dies. Male preference succession, but there are no males left after Carling infighting and backstabbing conga lines. Clown daughter is the only one able to inherit besides her toddler sisters. Suddenly, pagan pregnant clown is queen of East Francia. Oh, and she's your soulmate by this point because Clusy just hits different. Lamau.
I go almost daily to buy kebab from the same place, close both to my house and my workplace. There is this underpaid and overworked Arab guy that makes the kebab. I always tip 50%. He always packs my kebab with more meat than usual. He always knows how I like it, big and spicy with all the sauces and a Diet Pepsi. He gets very happy when he sees me and usually calls me boss and brother. Today I was sad as fuck, but the hello boss, the usual, made me feel better. Kebab heals people.
Be me. Still at Smith Order after the Battle of Dwarven Dentists. So many teeth. Such a mess. Everyone is still pissed about the rotten gobbo hand left in the tavern by whatever lazy numbskull decided to just drop it and wander off. Dwarfs are stressed out. Decide I need some tallow to make soap, so I start looking at my livestock. I was able to pen all my animals underground due to cave moss growing after I tunneled to the caverns. As I'm looking through and clicking on critters to be slaughtered, I realize I have around 60 damn puppies. Originally, I attained a breeding pair of dogs in hopes of making hunting hounds, but the countryside offers little game, so I scrapped that idea. I don't like using war dogs as I don't like the thought of dogs getting hurt. I realized that all of these stray puppies weren't doing anything. I also realized that none of them was set to available as pet, so I set each and every one of them to available and released them from the pen. The unground halls explode in a huge mass of yipping, sniffing, playing, bounding, tail-wagging puppies. They scurry all over the place and are almost all adopted within a day. Our broker, who is also a barkeep at our tavern, adopts 17 of the little buggers, so our tavern always has small puppers running around in it. This delights everyone. The little derps even follow him out when he goes to negotiation. Morale shoots through the roof. Dwarfs are much happier now. Decreasing blood pressure with puppies is science. Look it up. I guess it works on dwarfs too. Be me, still at glorious fortress of Smith Order, now the capital of our civilization due to minting a ton of platinum coins. So much so our monarch the Queen decided to make it her home. Feels Goodman Doypeg. Preparing of delve deep, get adamantine and see what else is down there. Forges going 24/7, making traps because I just know there's going to be some shit down there. I'm determined not to make this a repeat of Moria. See that a planter is taking a tantrum. Don't think much of it, but keep an eye on it. Sometimes they break things or punch people. This planter seemed to walk up and down the hall screaming and yelling at people heading by the Temple District or Mayor's apartment. Then he does something which, while not uncharacteristic of a dwarf throwing a tantrum, certainly set things off. A small group of cats were passing by and he decided to punch one. The result was akin to a large magnet being thrown into a room full of metal. All the cats in the group pounce on him. This planter, now less having a tantrum and more of a meltdown from hell, is fighting them off. Another dwarf joins, a miner, and attempts to help the cats, along with her dog, swinging a pickaxe at the planter. The planter takes them on. A gem cutter, a mason, and a fisherman come up from the mines, drop their cargo, and rush in to help subdue the planter. At this point, I think the situation will sort itself out. Nope, the planter is still throwing hands. More dwarfs enter the fray until the whole section of the hall is one massive brawl. DMX's Bring Your Whole Crew starts playing. Cats jumping on people, teeth flying, people puking from traumatic injuries. One guy literally lost his nose. When the fight was over, the planter, 5 cats, 3 others dwarves, a dog and a goblin were dead, though in truth I dispatched the guard to the riot too late. So when they got there, I had them kill the goblin, who was visiting. I'd like to think they planted a dagger on him. Dirty Groby. 15 to 17 dwarfs are hospitalized. The chief medical dwarf takes a tantrum of his own from the amount of wounded. Even the queen is wounded. As she gets carried away, she requests an order of short swords, a weapon she obsesses over but never uses. The Duchess requests more grates, her own obsession, while elbow deep in gore, helping suture wounded dwarfs. Production grinds to a halt. Such is life in Smith Order. Be me. Still at Smith Order. Take a break from digging deep due to lava and accidentally losing 4 miners to a magma explosion when they hit a warm rock and were burnt to a crisp. Make memorial for them, poor bastards. Decide that between digging deep and making traps that I would make a false entrance to Smith Order that is full of nasty saw blade and spike traps. Takes almost half a year in-game due to the Duchess suddenly becoming a sick, mentally deranged torturer and is beating the arms, legs and toes of prisoners with a warhammer until they're mulch. Prison looks like something out of slasher movie and nobody bothers to clean up the gory mess. I have no clue why she's turned out this way, outside of maybe being lovesick. Look at what Beard does to a lady. With the false entrance, I make a long haul as to make intruders run a gauntlet of nasty traps, after I saw that they can sometimes simply sidestep them. It's hard to sidestep something when it's everywhere, so I double down on the traps and decide to put a ballista at the end of the hall. Let's see the Groby try me now. Eventually, a raiding party of the Green Gits show. Seal the main entrance and let them come. At first they wander around, shooting arrows at the native capybara. I don't mind this much, as the capybara are ridiculously aggressive and visiting nobles seem to show up and hunt them for sport. As they do this, I order the ballista to be primed to fire and wait until they enter. I am notified of combat, that apparently one of the dwarfs is outside fighting a few of them. Panic for a moment until I realize it's a hammerlord in full armor who, instead of hitting the goblins with his hammer, is wrestling them down and biting them to death. I decide he can probably handle them himself and go back to the false entrance and order the ballista to fire. It is a thing of beauty. One goblin explodes in a shower of gore. One gets sawn into bits by the traps and the ballista hits one in the stomach. It has its guts hanging out, which is pretty gross. They go to run, but many are wounded and slow. Have the militia clean up the rest. Idly wonder how long it will take to clean. Hopefully not as long as the Battle of Dwarven Dentists. Then begin to think about the Hammerlord biting gobos to death, the visiting nobles who hunt angry capybara and the Duchess mutilating people. A cold chill enters my bones and I remember the old story of boat murdered and wonder, is Smith Order going to end in insanity and burning death as well? By Armok, I hope not.
This just happened like an hour ago, and I'm still losing my shit. Be in junior year, taking PSATs, stupid practice tests for SATs. There's an idiot who will call Brian, Functions enough to be with common folk. We're taking the no calculator part of the math section. He forgets that no calculators are allowed. Teacher calls him out. But I don't know how to do this without my calculator. Teacher tells him to put it away. Rage increases. How do I do it without my calculator? Starts rigorously erasing his answers out of pure rage. Tears test in half. Prepare your anuses.jpg. The screech of 1,000 autismos echoes throughout the school. Teacher tries to calm Brian down. How the fuck do I calm down? I decide to further trigger his rage. Ask teacher if we can use calculator. Shut the fuck up, you fucking piece of shit! Rage peaks. Combination of crying and untamed fury shakes the earth. Wranglers arrive. Brian throws a chair at one of the wranglers. Starts slamming his head on desk. Mashed potato. Fury remains at maximum capacity. 5 more wranglers arrive. Punches teacher in face. Blood pours out of nose. Finally overpowered by wranglers. Literally dragged out of the room to HQ. Still hear his screaming 30 minutes later. Whole fucking room trying not to laugh their balls. Is Rathalos the biggest loser in the entire Monster Hunter franchise? King of the skies, my ass. He gets casually beaten up by Zenogre and Iceborne, gets his shit cut up by Glavenus and GU, gets dabbed on by Nargacuga and Iceborne, gets the shit beat out of him by Astalos and GU, gets cucked by Sergios twice in both 4U and Sunbreak, who also holds his own against Azor Rathalos. Glavenus fucks his wife twice in both GU and Iceborne, straight up eaten by Malzeno. Even Diablos, who gets shilled just as much, doesn't job as much as this.
Be me, Canadian. Need antibiotics for a moose-inflicted arm wound. Have been at an emergency room for 4 hours. Only 10 more to go before the nurse can give me my lethal injection. Running low on maple syrup, need to get more before my blood syrup level drops below 0.04. Snowshoe to the corner store. Homeless man on meth stabs me and steals my syrup as I'm leaving. Mounties arrest me for inconveniencing the underprivileged homeless man. Pay 12 knuckle bucks to get out on bail. Snowshoe back to the hospital. Only 8 hours to go. Dumb Americans will never understand the superiority of our system.
Driving down the road, thinking about how thin the line between life and death is. I could literally just turn the steering wheel and die. Or would I? Just throw the wheel to the left and fly into the ditch. Don't die. Car stuck in ditch. I feel so stupid, but it's almost empowering. Native Americans. The colonials saw them as superhumans who had mastered nature with nothing but sticks and stones. In spite of how mistreated they ultimately were, they were nonetheless immortalized and romanticized in colonial art and literature as a noble and cultured warrior race. Aboriginals. They were once hunted so that their skulls could be put on display in museums because they were initially mistaken for Darwin's missing link.
Be me, British. Wake up, eat my black pudding and stale bacon. Don't brush my teeth. Go to work where I scrape the literal feces off the streets. Get stabbed. Go to pub and spend me hard-earned 1950 on 2 punts of stained lager. Get stabbed. Go back to my revolting 1-bedroom apartment. Eat me undercooked sausages with plain mashed potato. Don't brush my teeth. Sleep. Repeat. The UK has to be a prank at this point. DM wants to have the size of the fireball spell as a nerf. Explain that the huge size is more of a drawback than an advantage. He agrees. Next session, our wizard throws a fireball on the enemy and hits 3 of our PCs with it. My lawful evil character tells the wizard that if that happens again, he will be considered an enemy. The guy gets upset because we did win the fight and he dealt the most damage. Why do people think combat is some sort of competition who can deal the most damage or who can act as if they're the protagonist who saves the day? Be me, 30-year-old now. Grew up without a father. Mom used to make me dinner and we would watch King of the Hill. Always admired Hank Hill. Begin to model my life after him in my 20s. Have this thing where I ask myself, what would Mr. Hill do? When important decisions come up. Generally works out for me. Saved me from some costly mistakes through life. Dedicated myself to working hard through my 20s. Had plenty saved before COVID. Multiple high-risk factors like asthma. Able to go on extended leave without much to worry about. Just bought a propane grill. Are you proud of me, Dad? Sitting at the bar, feel someone tap my shoulder. Turn around and see a guy standing there with this weird smile on his face. He says, "Got the time?" But he is almost laughing as he asks. I say sure and pull out my pocket watch. As soon as I pull out my pocket watch, the guy belts out laughing along with a large table nearby, full of people laughing and looking at me. Before I can even check the time, the guy walks to the laughing table and loudly says, "I told you it was a fucking pocket watch, Jane." One of the girls at the table says, "Who the fuck?" but laughs so hard she cannot speak. I look around and see that there are other people in the place looking at me. Some are laughing too. Put my pocket watch away and try to go back to my drinks. What is wrong with pocket watches?